So this is the Idiot Check, and I'm Kara, and I'm here with Emma. Can you give a quick introduction for anybody who doesn't know you?
My name is Emma Beckett. I am a musician from Toronto, Canada, and I'm a Virgo.
Cool. I'm a Leo.
Nice. I have a Leo moon.
Nice. Awesome. When did you first start playing music, and what drew you to it?
I was involved from music from when I was really little. I started playing piano when I was like 5 years old, and like I started singing in like church and school and stuff when I was really little. My family was always really musical. My mom is like a really talented piano player, and my dad sings, and both of my older brothers were. So I think it was always it was in the house all the time. So I think it was natural for me.
How would you describe your genre of music that you create?
I usually say like alternative pop, because I think that my songwriting is always kind of rooted in pop music. I like a catchy chorus. I like singable verses, right? But I take inspiration from a lot of different places. I got really inspired by like alt rock music, indie rock music, as well as like really acoustic stuff and like blues stuff as well. So I think in terms of like melodies and instrumentation, I take inspiration from those places. But it always comes back to pop music, I think. So I just go alternative pop. Feels good.
I love that. Yeah, I definitely hear a lot of diversity in your music. So do you think Toronto influences your music at all?
I think so. I think Toronto has a pretty strong local music scene, and like obviously like aside from like the huge names, like obviously like Drake is from Toronto, but I wouldn't say Drake is like part of the local scene, right? But there's lots of like small indie bands that find success like just in Toronto or in Toronto and Canada, and a really strong live show like culture, and like spending lots of time going to like small live shows in these like intimate venues in Toronto, I think instilled like a pretty good like idea of like the culture, and kind of infuses that into what I write as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, Canada is huge. It's really big.
It is. It's big. It's a big one for sure.
Yeah. A few artists I know from Canada are like Lennon Stella. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Ooh, I love her. She's so good.
I don't think she's
so
from
good.
Canada, but maybe she's from Canada and she lives in Nashville. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit more about your songwriting process and what inspires you?
I think a lot of the times I start with just like an idea, like, well, that sounds really obvious when I say that, but more so like a theme, or like I will often start from a single lyric or a single line or like one word. Like for my song Evil Evil, the words evil evil was where it started, and then that set like the tone for like the kind of like mood that you want to create with the song. Like that one was being like up tempo, fast, a little bit like aggressive. And then I usually then start with like chords and finding melodies, and then I come back to the lyrics at the end. So it's like I start with an idea, and then that forms like the sound and the mood, and then I fill in the blanks with lyrics like Mad Libs.
So can you tell us about your debut album Dropout?
That was a fun one. I mean, it's called Dropout because I genuinely wrote it while I was going through the process of dropping out of university, which was like a big kind of shift and a big step for me and like my music. Because it was like, it's kind of, the songs were all written through the process of like realizing that I wasn't happy there, taking that next step to realize that I needed to drop out. And then there was a kind of a time afterwards where there was like feelings like fear and like not regret, but like kind of feeling like I didn't want to be making a mistake. So I think a lot of the songs kind of capture like a mood of kind of just uncertainty, and kind of like not being too sure of myself in that like period of time. And so I think the sound is kind of cohesive in that they were all written in that short time span, and they all came from like a really similar mindset and a similar place.
That's amazing how closely it has meaning to you. What do you think made you take music more seriously?
I think it's as simple as I knew that nothing would ever make me as happy as music does, and as like making music does. Like, I think there was like a moment of realization kind of where I would be trying to like do a reading for school, and I like couldn't sit for like 30 minutes because it was like so like mind numbing for me. But then alternatively, I could spend like 8 hours consecutively working on a song, and it was like nothing had happened. So I think it was kind of like realizing it's like there's clearly something that's good for me and something that's not good for me, and just kind of taking like the leap and saying like I'm going to take a chance on this thing because I think that it could make me really happy and I feel like I can be good at it. So
That's beautiful. Absolutely. Go for it, girl.
yeah.
What classes were you taking in school when you did go?
I was in a psychology program, but there was like neuroscience involved, and that was not for me. I took 2 classes, and I walked out of the second class and I said, "Oh no! Oh no! There are too many numbers here." I was like, I signed up for a degree with words, not numbers.
Who are your inspirations, like musically or non-musically?
I think I always say my biggest musical inspiration is Hosier. Even though sometimes my music doesn't always like sound like, you couldn't always say this sounds like Hosier or like this, but I think the way that he writes lyrics is, I don't think it's something that I could ever do, because he's poetic and like very metaphorical, and he does this crazy stuff when he writes. And I don't think that my mind thinks that way. I don't think I could ever emulate it, but I think that I like to try to, it's kind of like if I can do even a fraction of what he does, I think it could be good. So he's definitely huge for me. I have a Hosier inspired tattoo
Wow.
from his song. Yeah, his song "It Will Come Back" is one of my favorite songs of all time. So yeah, I got a tattoo to prove my allegiance to the Forest King. But yeah, so Hosier for sure. And then I always like to say One Direction, because I am a massive One Direction fan.
Do I hear a Taylor Swift fan in the house?
Oh yeah, we were there. We were all there together in middle school. Definitely. But One Direction, I always loved that their albums were complete like messes. Like every song sounded completely different, and I loved that. Like they would have like a folk song, and then they would have like a mainstream pop song, and then they would have something more rock inspired, and then they would have like a dance thing, and it was like so cool and so fun.
I can't say that I know the whole discography of One Direction, but Story of My Life has my heart forever.
Oh yeah, banger from day one. That so good. It's so good.
So can you talk a little bit about your album Cool With It?
I would love to. I think this one I would say is generally less cohesive in terms of theme, because this was written over a much like longer time frame. The earliest song, the song Knockoff, I wrote like 5 years ago, and that was like before Dropout came out, so like from ages and ages ago. And then so it was a long time coming for that one. But I think that it's definitely not as thematically cohesive. But I don't think that was like really the aim for that one. It was kind of, I had a collection of songs that I was proud of and that I wanted people to hear, and I felt like, I feel like they're kind of like time capsules in a way, because even though they may not all sound like they're related, like they are, because they're like stories, little like snippets of time from like that like chunk of like 3 to 5 years. So yeah, and the title Cool With It, what kind of came from being like an indie artist and like a smaller indie artist. Obviously releasing an album is like not what, and like it's not the thing to do right now. It's just not like algorithms and stuff. Like it's like all about singles. It's like you release a single, you pitch it to playlists, like you do all this stuff, and then you do it again with another single. So like I kind of feel like releasing an album is like just kind of people see it as like a throwaway because it's like, who's gonna listen to it?
Right, like go through every song and like in like a collection.
Yeah, with like the attention span of people, like who's gonna listen to an album? Like who's gonna sit down and listen to one?
Yeah, I never thought about it.
But yeah, but it's kind of like I got to like a point where I was like, but I want to release an album. I want this to be an album together. And the people that care about it, the people that like my music, the people that want to listen will. And so I kind of got to a place where I was just like cool with it. That's like where the title comes from. It's just kind of like releasing music because it's what you've created and it's what you're proud of, and not necessarily being like, oh, like this has to get 100,000 streams in a week or it's a failure. It's kind of like, well, it's already something that I'm proud of, so I'm just cool with.
It's coming from the heart, and like your intentions are like pure, so it feels better.
So just being cool with like however well it does, like whether it gets no streams at all, it's like, okay, cool, chill.
Yeah, I love that. The passion is strong. What do you think has changed since your first release?
I think the biggest, like the way that I wrote songs changed a lot. My first album, or like Dropout, I wrote almost exclusively just like on a guitar. I would write it on an acoustic guitar, and then I built up the parts on a loop pedal with my like electric guitar. So I would like make little beats by like hitting my guitar, and then I would like play like a little bass line and stuff like that. And then I very much just kept that in what I ended up recording. Whereas the second time around, I wrote it with the intention of playing it with a band, because I've always loved the idea of playing with a band. I'm too much of a control freak to be in a band and write with a band, because I don't want to listen to anyone else's opinions. But I
feel that too.
Yeah, they would be like, they would try to give me notes, and I'd be like, shh, stay out of it. But I wanted to play with a band like really badly. So I was trying to write like more complex drum lines or like more complex bass lines, and kind of like envisioning it as a whole, as opposed to just starting really, really basic and staying there. So I think that like opened a lot of doors for kind of different like sounds and different like levels that I was able to kind of achieve with the different songs. Like Evil Evil, I never would have written that like on an acoustic guitar, because it wouldn't make sense. But when I was picturing it with a band, I was like, yeah, I want to play a rock song, I want to do it. But then so it made more sense that time.
When did you first start playing guitar?
I taught myself guitar, I think when I was like 14. I started stealing my brother's acoustic guitar and trying to learn it. But then it didn't go well because it hurt my fingers and I was a little baby, so I gave up. And then I circled back around to it because I really wanted to learn how to play Give Me Love by Ed Sheeran. The little riff that like ding, 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 ding. And I was like, that's really pretty. And I cry a lot to this song in my room. So I should be able to play it and sing it. So then I picked up a guitar the second time around, and I was committed to learning that riff and that riff only. And I did. And then it stuck. It stuck the second time around.
Snowballed, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I was picking up your tone as like kind of Billie Eilish, but your vibe is just like Ed Sheeran. Like that's what I was feeling. Like
yeah.
I was loving it. I love Jump the Line. Oh my gosh. And then Fuchsia Lights. I love those too.
Thank you. Yeah, Ed Sheeran was definitely a big inspiration for me at the beginning, especially with the loop pedal. Like I was mentioning how I was writing on the loop pedal a lot because that's his whole thing. Like when he when he performs live, it's just like him with like his loop pedal, and he like builds it up, and it's like amazing, and it's like, wow, like how can you do that? It's just him up there, and it's like amazing. So definitely he was big for me. And the Billie Eilish thing I've heard before. I don't really know what it is.
Do you have a favorite gig that you played?
Favorite gig? I yes. I got to open for an artist named Alice Phoebe Lou a couple years ago, and it's the biggest show that I've played. And it was at like, I think like it wasn't a huge show. It was, I think maybe the room capacity was like 150 or something, but it was the biggest show I had played by far, and I was so terrified. But it was really cool because it actually felt like a show. Like, I don't know, you're an artist, so you've probably played like those shows where like everyone's like sitting down, like, you know, like you're at like a small bar, and like there's tables and people are just like sitting, and it doesn't feel like a show. It kind of feels like it kind of feels like you're at like a talent show or something. And it doesn't have like that energy to it.
Yeah.
This is the first show that I ever played that had like that energy. And Fuchsia Lights is actually about that show. It was written about a show, which is fun because it's not what it sounds like at all.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy where inspiration comes from sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It could be from the smallest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it actually, after the show, I was talking to a friend about how it had gone, and they were like, yeah, like the set went well, it was cool, like I really liked the fuchsia lights that were like shining on you like during the middle of it, because there was like a professional light guy. I've never had a professional light guy before, and he was like flashing some lights, and then I was like, oh, fuchsia lights, and then that went in the notes app as like a potential title, and then I circled back to it a little while later and wrote the song based off of that.
I love that. Do you ever experience stage fright?
Yeah, a little bit. I think like I get like a healthy level of nerves. I was kind of like raised performing though. Like, so it's not so much like I think it's just like excitement and like a little bit of nervousness. But I mean, like I said, like I grew up singing in like church choirs and stuff in front of like
awesome.
groups of 150 people. So I was kind of just like,
That's awesome. Well, I certainly would love to see you live. I'll let you know when I'm in Canada.
Oh, please do.
So do you do anything outside of music?
Well, as far as quarantine hobbies go, I've done it all. I did focaccia bread. I did embroidery. I did embroidery, which was good. I like that one. I did yoga for a little while. Then we took the leap. We did some skateboarding. That came out of nowhere. Never done that before, so that's fun. I can do maybe two and a half tricks. 2.5 on a good day.
I bought a longboard and I never used it.
Yeah, the impulse purchases. Yeah, I mean, I bought a secondhand skateboard because I was like, let's not be irresponsible. Let's make sure we like this first. But then winter in Canada hit, so I haven't been out recently. But yeah, but a bunch of quarantine hobbies have definitely popped up in my life.
That's awesome. So do you have any music plans after quarantine?
I mean, I would love to get a band together. I was so close to getting a band together. Like the weeks before COVID kind of like hit Canada, I was scheduling a first rehearsal with the band that I had like gathered up. And so we never actually got to play together before everything kind of shut down. So definitely getting that band together finally, and just playing live shows again. I miss it. I'm sure we all do. We like miss going to gigs and playing gigs, and just that's all I want to do once COVID is over. Just shows every night of the week, every night, different show.
What advice would you give to upcoming musicians?
I would say write the music that you want to hear. Don't edit yourself too much. If you write a song, don't edit it based on what you think people will like. Go with your gut, because if it's music that's coming from you, then it should sound like it's coming from you. Don't write a song and then try to make it sound like Billie Eilish, because it won't work. Because you won't sound like Billie Eilish. You'll just sound like you're trying to sound like her. Yeah, just practice, practice all the time.
practice. Yes.
Practice all the time. That's it. It's just do it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, just do it. Keep doing it. Love that.
Just do it.
What's the best advice that you've ever been given?
I feel like I'm on that Spotify series, you know, the one where they ask artists this. They all have such good answers.
It's fun to think about.
I think probably I'm gonna go simple with it. I think it was when I dropped out of school, I sent my mom an email because I was too nervous to tell her in person. But I sent her a long email explaining all my decisions and stuff and what I wanted. And in the email back, she just it was, it's simple, but she was you just have to do what makes you happy. And that's kind of all that's all that really matters, right? It's the earth is dying. Life is too short. Just so if making music is what makes you happy, then you just have to do it. Whether you're becoming famous or not, or whether you're just doing it for yourself, it's just, that's just what counts, you know?
It's you what's got to bring it forth.
Yeah.
Oh, nobody else is going to do it. It's the heart. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's about it. I think that's all I got.
That's all you got? That's all I got.
All right.
What a coincidence.
This is the Idiot Check. And I'm Kara, and this is Emma, and we're out.